Cacaxtla was the capital of a region inhabited by the Olmeca Xicalanga people. The origins of the Olmeca Xicalanga aren't known, but they're assumed to come from the Gulf Coast region. They arrived in this part of central Mexico around 350 Common Era. The archaeological site was rediscovered in 1975 by farmers from the nearby town of San Miguel del Milagro, who began to find artifacts in the areas surrounding the mounds of the then pasture lands. The valley where the site is located encompasses a vast array of vegetation. It's surrounded by some of the tallest mountains of Mexico, including several well-known volcanoes. After the fall of the nearby city of Cholula around 675 Common Era, in which the Cacaxtlecas might have been the cause, Cacaxtla became the hegemonic power in this part of Tlaxcala Puebla Valley. Warriors from Cacaxtla appear to have taken over Cholula for a period, but they were ultimately defeated and expelled by the Toltecs. Cacaxtla's dominance came to an end around 900 Common Era, and by 1000 the city had been abandoned. As hundreds of years passed, the city and its buildings and structures were overcome by the vegetation and land. This pyramid mound number 1 was covered and no longer visible, lost to history with the rest of Cacaxtla. As you can see here, this mound is fenced off for a reason. There's a yet-to-be excavated structure hidden below the dirt and trees. It remains camouflaged, just like the town had been for hundreds of years. The center of the city of Cacaxtla was a 200-meter-long, 25-meter-high Gran Basamento, a natural platform offering a fine defensive position and commanding views over the surrounding terrain. Picture this massive structure hidden, covered up by dirt, soil, debris, and vegetation. It was a hillside to the farmers in the area as they went about their business of tending to their pastures, up until 1975. How could something so massive be forgotten about, you ask? Well, a lot can happen in 975 years. For one, a loss of history that was buried beneath our feet. Now consider that this happens or happened throughout Mexico, the Americas, and the rest of the world. Time, weather, natural disasters, cataclysmic events, and other factors are the cause. We've lost our distant history, and few in academia are willing to admit that human history goes back in time further than what we're currently being told. Cacaxtla is an excellent example that I wanted to show and discuss with the public. How do we lose something of this nature? Believe it or not, it's quite easy and has occurred over and over again. Imagine the amount of earth that needed to be excavated, removed in order to see what we're looking at in this photo. And it was all accidentally started by a farmer working in his pasture, accidentally digging up the past. Now, with current non-invasive technology, we should be looking into the ground more often to see what lies below. Also think about the fact that the weather we have today in some places was not the weather the ancestors may have had in the past. Same goes for the land itself. Consider, for example, the arid deserts around the world. They weren't always that dry. The main structure was on a hillside that allowed a constant watch in all directions of those approaching, both friend and foe. And the treasures buried below our feet may not always be precious metals that were coveted by the Spaniards, who were another reason for loss of so much history. Conquest is a major destroyer of the past, so is repurposing old building materials to make new structures. Once again, Cacaxtla's murals proved just how important Venus was to the Mesoamerican culture of ancient Mexico. But for what reason remains convoluted. I continue to believe it was because these people knew something about Venus that we no longer do. Was Venus the destroyer of man, attacker of planet Earth? Was the planet the cause of multiple catastrophic events in the past? Will it be again in the future? Their tracking and studying of the planet appears to have been excessive. The most famous of Cacaxtla's preserved paintings is the Battle Mural. The entire mural is approximately 80 feet long, and for being around 1,400 years old, well preserved. The rich colored paints fared well because of being buried underground for a long period of time than when it was displayed for the people that called Cacaxtla home. History is not well known. A lot's made up and based off archaic anthropological viewpoints of the 19th and 20th century. Additional murals. Right next door to Cacaxtla is an even older ruin site and lost culture. Xochitécatl is a very ancient site, dating as far back as 1100 before Common Era. The ruins cover an area of 30 acres on top of a volcanic dome. The reasoning behind the site is not really known and chalked up to a religious center. But then, what is really known from our distant past? What we believe we know should be questioned. Is it even right? While you're walking around the rest of today, stop for a moment to consider what you may be walking on. What lies below? Please take a moment to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Stand by for more to follow, in the near future, of course.